Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles, and some say that he's the product of a forbidden liaison between a Tog 2 and a Panzer II Luchs, and that he has diesel oil for blood. All I know is, they call him Dave, because that's actually his name. They call me Dave. Dave's been hogging the limelight a lot recently, hasn't he? You'd think he might give somebody else a chance. Actually, and I'm not making this up, I was playing World of Warships right before I recorded this, knocking off the Christmas snowflakes in the Tier 7 Operation Mirai, and twice in a row I bumped into a guy playing cruisers, and his name was, I'll just call him Dave. It was great to meet you, Dave. He was a very good teammate, by the way, and it's nice to know that you don't just play tanks. But you're playing tanks now. The Soviet Tier 9 Heavy, well, one of the Soviet Tier 9 Heavies, the ST-1. Now, before we go any further, I kind of have to be honest with you all, this game is going to have a slow start. But you need to trust your Uncle Jingles when he tells you, stick around, it's going to be worth it. Dave has just unlocked the top gun here on the ST-1. I believe it's the M62. It is a very good gun. It's the same gun that the IS-4 gets. Actually, there's a story about that. First, however, I said that this game was going to have a slow start, and this is why. It's the old heavy tank hold-down meta that creates such enjoyable gameplay in World of Tanks. This is a very good gun that he's just unlocked and is using for the first time, but there is absolutely no way he's getting through the armour of an Object 705A or an Object 777 Mark II when they're both hold-down like that. Equally, there's no way they're getting through his armour when he's hold down like this, either. And of course, Dave knows this, which is why he switched to the high explosive, and in the past, he would have been able to at least do some damage, but well, thank you, high explosive nerf. Yeah. Of course, this is going to be just as frustrating for them, because they're going to find it equally difficult to do any kind of damage to him. So, while everybody settles down for the next couple of minutes and attempts to snipe each other's turret top weak spots with guns that have 0.4 accuracy, I may as well entertain you by telling you about the gun that Dave has just unlocked, the M62. So, hands up anybody who remembers, and we are going back a few years here, so this might actually come as news to some of you. Yeah, you're not going to penetrate that, Dave, don't even waste your ammo. Although you can see the 705A, he's going for... Yeah, you see the shot went above. He's trying to penetrate his commander's cupola at this kind of range with a gun that has 0.4 accuracy, because that's all they can do in this heavy tank hold-down meta. But anyway, back to the story. The M62 gun, the one that Dave has just unlocked on the ST-1, and it's also the best gun on the IS-4 at Tier 10. Way back, there was only one line of heavy tanks in World of Tanks. The IS-4 was the Tier 9, and the IS-7 was the Tier 10. And then Wargaming decided they were going to split the Soviet heavy tank line, with the IS-4 and the IS-7 being the Tier 10s in each respective line of tanks. And they introduced this new gun, the M62, specifically for the IS-4, and also made it available as an option on the ST-1, which was a brand new Tier 9 Russian heavy tank. The thing is, prior to the split, the way they decided it was going to work was that if you had the Tier 9 IS-4 and it was fully upgraded and you'd paid for it and you had it in your garage, then you would get the Tier 10 IS-4 with the new M62 gun. Oh, you just see Dave there in chat. Fuck this hold down shit meta. Yes, Dave, fuck it and everything it stands for. So anyway, if you had a fully upgraded IS-4 sitting in your garage, the day before the split, you got the fully upgraded IS-4 at Tier 10 the day of the split. And this is why I have a fully upgraded IS-4, and yes Dave, this would also be a very nice hold down position if there was anybody there for you to shoot at, but there isn't. But yes, this is why I have a fully upgraded IS-4 with the M62 gun, but I still don't have the ST-1. This is why I have the Tier 10, but I've never researched or unlocked the Tier 9 that now leads to it. If I did decide to start grinding out the ST-1, I would already have the M62 gun unlocked for it, because I've got it on the IS-4. Oh, bless them, they're still trying to snipe each other's weak spots. You notice the Object 705A has already decided, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. Dave, however, has a little more patience. Anyway, so what happened to all of those people? Because there were a lot of them who thought, oh, I need to grind out the IS-4 quickly while it's still a tier 9 and it won't take as much experience, and then I can get myself a free tier 10 on the day of the split. Because that was the advice that everybody was being given. Oh, right as Dave just got shot up his ass by the very cheeky Type 61 over there. Is he going to be dumb enough to pop out? He is. Okay. Sort of consolation kill there for Dave. But yeah, how about all those people who are being told you must grind out the IS-4 while it's still a tier 9 and then you get yourself a tier 10 on the day of the Russian heavy tank split? And that's absolutely true, that is what happened. Came with a couple of conditions though. Because if all you did was grind out the experience that you needed for the IS-4 and then unlock it, then what you got on the day of the split was a tank that had been unlocked, but you didn't own because you hadn't purchased it. And if you had... Oh, hello, there's the Centurion. I wonder if he knows that Dave is here. I guess we're going to find out. If you'd rushed through the grind to get the IS-4 unlocked and then spent the credits to buy it but hadn't gone any further, then that's exactly what you got at tier 10 as well. You got a stock IS-4. Now, if you look at the stock IS-4 now, it's not great, but it's not completely terrible. You do get a 122mm D25-2S gun with pretty bad 217mm of penetration, with this gun as the only available upgrade. But back then, you didn't even get that. A stock IS-4 back on the day of the split came equipped with, and I'm not making this shit up, the Tier 7 IS's 122mm gun. Yes, the one with 175mm of penetration. Which means that the day of the Russian heavy tank split, Tier 10 battles were flooded with people in stock IS-4s with Tier 7 heavy tank guns. If you had one of these guys on your team, you were virtually guaranteed to lose. I'm sure you can all imagine how much fun Tier 10 battles were in the week after this split. I'm sure you can also imagine just how toxic chat was when anybody saw they had an IS-4 on their team. All because of the IS-4s that didn't have this gun. I used to get people crying all over me in chat at the start of a battle, even though I had this gun. They just assumed I didn't have it. Oh yeah, it was fun for all the family. Anyway, back to the battle, since things have actually started to happen now. So Dave, why ain't you going down that road in order to maybe get some flanking action in on the enemy tanks that are busy fighting your team to a standstill over on the east? Well, there's a couple of reasons why he might not be doing it. One of them could be the presence of the shit barn over here. You don't want to get hit by that thing. I don't care how good you think your armour is. So Dave's being methodical about it. He's not taking any unnecessary chances. He can still get into a position where he can outflank the remaining enemy tanks over there to the east without driving up a road that's open on one side with a whole bunch of enemy tank guns potentially spotting you as you do it. It's just going to take him a little longer. Unfortunately, while the ST-1 isn't particularly slow, it's definitely not the most mobile of tanks either. It's actually kind of ironic because that Soviet heavy tank line split was supposed to have the more mobile tanks in one line leading up to the IS-7 and the more heavily armoured tanks in the other line leading up to the IS-4, and that's definitely true of the ST-1 here. It is a very, very well armoured tank. It holds its ground even in tier 10 battles, certainly once it's got this gun unlocked. But it leads to the IS-4, which is supposed to be the slow and heavily armoured Russian tier 10 heavy compared to the IS-7. it's definitely slower, but I'm pretty sure that anybody who's ever tried to penetrate the turret or upper glacis or the angled side of an IS-7 would not agree that the IS-4 has better armour. It's even arguable whether or not the IS-4 and ST-1 line has a better gun. I mean, this is a good gun, don't get me wrong. It's a very nice gun. But well, the IS-7's is higher caliber, so it gets better overmatch, and it does more damage. So, you know, you be the judge. Oh, and speaking of IS-7s, there is a surviving IS-7 on the team. You can see him over there. He's He's taking his time trying to figure out what to do. He's trying to push the wreck out so he can go hull down behind it. He really likes going hull down, this guy. Meanwhile, Dave, he's looking for a better angle, because from here all he can really hit is the enemy gun on the VZ51 there. He's going to need a better angle than that. Now, if you were to aim above the tracks and below the skirts, you might be able to pen the side from this kind of angle. Nice one, Dave. Right. Die of old age, sitting around waiting for the IS-7 to make his mind up. Now, while the enemy team have been spanking quite convincingly over on the other side of the map, Dave's team have almost cleared this side of the map. There's just that T-54E1, American Tier 9 heavy autoloader. Actually, the heavy part is arguable. It only gets a choice of two guns. One of them is 90mm and the other one is 105mm, but it's not a bad 105mm autoloader. It's not particularly accurate. It actually has the same accuracy as Dave's gun, but at these kind of ranges, it's accurate enough. Dave's struggling up the hill here while trying to stay angled against the T-54E1's gun. It's not the most mobile tank in the world after all. The E100's trying to get around behind the T-54E1. He's about to find out, however, that there isn't actually a gap back there for him to shoot through. The IS-7, so terrified of getting shot at that he's fallen back and he's actually using Dave as cover. Which means that at the moment, nobody's in a position to shoot this T-54E1 except for Dave. Although the E100 should be coming around the corner soon. Dave is basically eating shell after shell after shell. And if he wants any help from that IS-7, he's going to have to get out of the way, because that IS-7 isn't just going to shot for anybody until the T-54E1 is on reload. And there it is. Right, it's now 3 on 3. And our heroes are now being given conflicting advice. Head back and defend the cap, which is not terrible advice. But you've got an E100 and ST1 here. The IS-7 can make it back, but he's nobody's hero. He's not risking himself for anybody. The other advice, and they are closer, and it does seem like better advice, is to head for the enemy cap. Now, I don't know if they were ever realistically going to win this by capping, and when you see the battle develop in the cap circle, you'll see what I mean. I mean, it's possible, and at times it's really close, but well, it's that IS-7. The only time he ever enters the cap circle is when he's trying to hide from getting shot at. It's arguable that if he'd entered the cap circle earlier, this battle would have been won earlier. But look, he's got more health than the E100, and yet he waits on the corner for the E100 to go ahead. I even thought he was going to sit there and wait for Dave to catch up and go ahead, but at the last moment he decided to actually move. Like I said, this guy is nobody's hero. Rightly or wrongly, the only reason teammates exist for this IS-7 is to give the enemy team something else to shoot at and something for him to occasionally take cover behind. Look, he's not going into that cap circle. E100, sort of in the open, trying to hide behind a bush and trying to angle his armour as best he can. But the thing about angling your armour is, well, especially in an E100, it only really works if you know where you're getting shot from. 2 minutes to go. Now, you can argue the rights and wrongs of the way the IS-7 plays this, and I'm sure you probably will, but the cap's just been reset, and if the IS-7 had been in the cap circle from the start, this would not have been a win yet. They still wouldn't have accumulated enough capture points to have won by now. Now the IS-7 moves into the cap circle, not because he's trying to cap, but because he doesn't want to get shot at, and regardless of what you think, it's understandable at this point, because it's extremely unlikely now that they're going to win by capping. He can't resist his natural urge to use his teammates as sacrificial cover, however, even if it is the teammate with all of the capture points, and that just bit him in the arse, as did the STB-1. But they've taken him out. And now, the only two remaining enemies, the ship bomb and the concept, are on the other side of this snowbank. Despite the fact that somehow Dave has thus far managed to avoid being reset and still has all of his capture points, this is almost certainly not going to come down to a win by capping. The IS-7 goes down. It looked like the ship bomb fired high explosive, but it didn't kill him in one shot. That's potentially good news. because Dave has the armour to probably not die if the ship barn fires HE again. Oh, he's missed his shot on the concept, that's not good. He finishes off the ship barn. Now he's using, oh the irony, the IS-7 as cover. Still has all of his capture pod. The concept finally gets the reset with 3 seconds to go, but it's a low roll, leaves Dave on 71 health. And there's the kill, with 23 seconds to go. That was about as close as it gets, but Dave came through in the end, as he always does, and that's why we love him. Painfully slow start, but ace tanker and steel wall for Dave, with nearly 5,000 damage done and 2,700 damage blocked. I suspect most of you are going to have a few things to say about the IS-7, however, but just bear in mind that even if the IS-7 had gone into that cap circle as soon as possible, they still would not have won by capping. And they did win. And they would not have won if the IS-7 had not been as careful as he was about preserving his health. So by all means let me know what you think in the comments, but do try to bear those 2 points in mind, because whether or not you approve of the way the IS-7 driver played, he was instrumental in this being a victory. Anyway, I think we can all agree that Dave came good in the end, and that's why we love him around here, because no matter what happens, you can always depend on Dave. Take care folks, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.